Behold, trapped in a hellscape of their own invention, socially unaware old white men bound by the pretense of being fake lawyers yet knowing no law, no exquisite Latin terminology, they are inexplicably compelled to quibble over minutia, squabble over triflings, and bicker like those who value their backyards far too highly without even knowing the difference between an easement and an alleyway. At this very moment, you have entered the heart of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Let's get started.
Welcome to another edition of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on this October 20th, 2021, right in the heart of Halloween month. And we have a very special guest today. It is a director and playwright, Marc Morales. He's also a, you could call him a writer, because I guess that's what playwrights do. And what am I talking about? And he may or may not be helping us out with our client later on, which is, that's A Fine Looking Werewolf. So that'll be our client at the halfway mark. But for now, we're gonna talk to Marc. But first of all, if Brendan is ready, Brendan, have you found a fake sponsor for us today? A sponsor that will not pay our bills, but will at least kill a little bit of time?
Yes. Today's episode of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker is proudly brought to you by the Incelerator. You can't get laid and it really pisses you off, but let's face it, you know it's not your fault. That's why you need the Incelerator. The Incelerator is the only workout program proven not to make you sexy or more attracted to the opposite sex, because who cares at this point? They've ignored you far too long. The Incelerator's patent method of self-absorption provides maximum feelings of sexual entitlement without any responsibility for solving it. So here's to you, the betas, the omegas, the not red-pilled members of our growing Incelerator brotherhood. The Incelerator keeps you in your mom's basement shitposting all over the internet while further regressing you in terms of your already fucked social skills. The Incelerator. Don't even try. Just be the victim.
I feel that was something made
Bravo.
for me. Actually, that was outstanding as usual, Brendan. The Incelerator. Is that, how do you spell insulator? I'm just curious.
Incelerator.
Oh, got it. Incel-erator.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. First, I thought it was insel, like insulate, but
like insel. Yeah, that's a tough one. Those vowels kind of.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much. That's what's not paying our bills today. That was our sponsor. So let's get right into Marc Morales. Marc Morales is currently in Las Vegas filming a movie called 521 North Main Street. Did I get that right?
You did get that right, yes.
Okay,
and
perfect.
I had a girlfriend that I really was having a hard time getting rid of, and I used the insulator, and it boom, within a week she was gone. Yeah, so I'm backing up the insulator.
Thank you for that testimonial.
Hey, you are welcome. I have other friends too, because I called them. I'm like, she's gone. They're like, how'd you get rid of her? Do we have to call the police? And I'm like, no, I use the insulator. And they were like, awesome, man, because my wife's got to go. I can't do this. It's been 10 years. So boom. So I got like at least 3 or 4 friends who, and some of them are women too. It works the other way also. Who knew?
Oh yeah, it works either way. Bi-directional, so to speak.
Bi-directional insulator.
And
Incelerator.
So, yeah, I would definitely promote the Incelerator.
Well, right now you're filming your movie at the Clown Hotel in Las Vegas?
It's the Clown Motel. It only has 2 floors. It's okay. If they go one more floor, they can call it, I think, a hotel. I think that's
it's clown themed?
It is. Yeah, it's in Tonopah, Nevada, which is about 3.5 hours between Vegas and Reno. There's a little incorporated town called Tonopah, and its claim to fame is silver mining back in the day. And but ever since then, they didn't, I guess, they wanted to build a railroad through it, because they're like, hey, we should build a railroad through here. And they were like, no, we don't want a railroad. And they're like, well, there goes your town. So now there's a little town. There's a place called the Clown Motel. And yeah, it's amazing. It's clown themed. And what really sells it is you walk outside, there's a graveyard that was built in like 1901 and closed, I believe, like 10 years later in 1911. And it's a graveyard, and it's right next door to it, and you can walk in. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's clown themed. You walk into the lobby, they're just shelves filled with dolls of clowns and clown memorabilia. And it's like, okay, this is weird, and I first heard about it about 5-6 years ago, And then I'm like, oh, this place seems kind of cool. And I always wanted to write a screenplay because I had written stage plays. So I'm like, let me try to write a screenplay. I need something to write about. I'm like, oh, well, it's got to be a horror film. So and then I started doing some research, and Clown Motel just kept popping up. And I started reading the reviews from people who had stayed there, and they were funny. So I'm like, this is my place. I'm going to write about this place. So I wrote about it.
Did the waitresses have to dress up?
No, it's nothing like that. It's nothing like that at all. No, it's really weird. In the beginning, it was just this really creepy rundown. I mean, let's call it a shithole. It was a real shithole, but it was scary, and it's in the middle of the desert. So I was like, yeah, that's the cell. So I wrote all about this shithole at the time. And then after I wrote it, I went there and I met the guy who owned it. And I'm like, this place is great, you know? And it was one of those places that like I explained to my girlfriend at the time, I said, hey, I'm just telling you where I am, but if I disappear and you come here and say, hey, no, Mark said he was here and now he's not here. And they'll say, no, that guy was never here. It's one of those that you can disappear and you would go, oh, maybe Mark wasn't here, you know? But
there's literally a cemetery right next to the Clown Hotel.
You can Google it. Yeah, you can Google it and it'll show you.
That seems like a little disturbing right off the bat.
It's awesome. But what was crazy was, so I wrote it all about this version of the Clown Motel. It was creepy. It was whatever. So after I write that, a few years later, boom, someone writes a movie called The Clown Motel about that motel. And I'm like, oh my God, that's how horrible. But then all of a sudden they sold it. And I didn't really know that until I Googled it about a year later. And the next owner tricked it out. He totally played on the clown thing and he added colors, and it looked pretty. And it looks pretty now. And I'm like, that's not scary anymore. And then I went there because I had to meet with him and discuss about, if we were going to film there. And I was just sitting there going, I might have to trash my script. What am I going to do? But after staying there, I realized, all right, what's this a movie about? It's really a movie about, the way I see it, it's a haunted house. It's a haunted motel. It's like the Amityville Horror. So can't anything be haunted? Why does it always have to look run down and grungy? I mean, why would anyone stop at a rundown and grungy place anyway? I'm like, this is a place I would definitely come to. This is very attractive. This is like
Poltergeist.
This is like Poltergeist, or this is like It with Tim Curry, that version of Pennywise. To me, in my opinion, Tim Curry playing Pennywise, that was horrifying because you wanted to hang out with him. It's like, oh, Pennywise, yeah, you look great. So, you don't look intimidating, but the other
is it actually called Clown Motel outside? Like the sign says Clown Motel? Okay.
World famous Clown Motel.
So I guess with the right lighting, you could make it.
I'm sorry, Greg.
Well, I just said, is there a seltzer bottle in every room?
No, there's no seltzer bottle. They do. They used to give out free big red noses, but each room is decorated in different clown themes. There'll be clown pictures. Some rooms have murals painted on them there's one of The Exorcist of Reagan McNeil. There's one of obviously Pennywise from It. Not Mike Myers. That would be really funny. Hey, Michael Myers from Halloween is painted.
Imagine if Wayne's World, Michael Myers was actually played by Michael Myers. That would have been a much
He's
different
on all the
movie.
walls. It's Wayne's World. It's Dr. Evil. It's Austin Powers.
It's Halloween.
The guy from Inglourious
That hotel
Basterds. I'm sorry.
That hotel sounds terrifying.
It's yeah. It really is. I think he rents out EMF meters, like ghost hunting stuff. I think Zach Bag Ghost Adventures was there. Everyone's been there. And if you go on Amazon now and just type in Clown Motel, you will find all these movies about the Clown Motel.
If we go on Google Earth, will we see you at the top of your head?
Oh, top of my head.
If you're walking
Unless
around
you
the
have
outside.
X-ray.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not there right now. But yeah, if you did it yesterday, you would definitely see the top of my head.
Oh, you're not actually staying at the Clown Motel?
No. Now, my DP, my director of photography, is also from Texas. He had to fly back early this morning. So, yeah, we drove out there yesterday. We got there at 10:30 a.m. We shot until 3 p.m. We shot all the exteriors, and then we drove back to Vegas. And then we're going to take it, and we start shooting in San Antonio, Texas on January 4th. We're going to build our version, the inside of the Clown Motel, on a soundstage.
Interesting.
Because what we're doing in our film is we're basically going, I always call it old school. We're going, maybe it's not, but we're going old school, like John Carpenter's The Thing, those kind of special effects. We're trying to do really practical effects like Rob Bottin did on John Carpenter's The Thing, or Rick Baker did on An American Werewolf in London. We're going for those practical effects. So that was always my dream. So my My special effects guy, Sergio, read through the script and he's like, I can do all this. He's like, but we're honestly, he's like, we can't do it at the motel. He's like, there's going to be so much blood. He's like, we're going to damage things. He's like, there's not enough room to pull off some of these effects.
That's such a great line. There's going to be so much blood.
That's what he said. He's like, let's be honest, we're going to damage the shit out of the place. He's like, it's not going to be cool. He's like, they're not closing the motel for us. He's like, because we can't afford that. He's like, what if someone, he broke it down this way. He said, this effect right here will cost us $5,000 alone. He's like, we're going to set up for it. He's like, we have no control over the motel. He's like, someone decides to come out of a room and walk through the shot. He's like, that's $5,000 down the drain. He goes, you have extra 5,000? I said, nope. He's
so
like,
you're not being bankrolled. You're not being bankrolled by Universal Pictures or anything.
No, they offered, but my ex that I had to, get rid of by using,
Incelerator.
the exercise, the accelerator. She works for them now, and there's this thing, and I know it's all personal. So I was like, I turned them down. So that was it.
Sorry, Universal, we don't want your money.
Yeah, it's like who's there? Is she there? No.
We prefer a shoestring budget over large amounts of money every time.
Yeah, the smallest budget I can get. We're gonna show you, Universal. That's
now, from what I understand, you started in the business as a singing waiter in New York City.
Wow, how do you know that?
Oh, I'm psychotic. I read minds.
That's not. Yeah, I won't tell you where because I just don't like giving them publicity. But
it was a bad experience, I take it.
No, it was awesome. I just want to give them publicity. I didn't like the owners, and I'm not afraid to say that right there. I'm giving them the finger.
You're allowed to give a virtual finger and a real finger.
Everything. I mean, people, the experience. I mean, it was like Disney. Really, Disneyland.
I'm just wondering what it means to be a singing waiter. I mean, you just go up and
I guess in different places.
Do you sing the menu or?
No, I guess in different places. That you have different experience. I guess they all have their own way. Here it was the theme. Here I'll probably give it away. It was a 50s diner theme. So we all dressed like like the girls wore poodle skirts. In the beginning, this is how it was when I got there, but they were kind of phasing out of it. So the girls were wearing poodle skirts and the guys were wearing the jeans with the bowling shirts, and then the girls started wearing the jeans also, and then it was just everyone was just wearing jeans and bowling shirts. And no, we didn't sing the menu, but we had a great setup. There was a big screen and everything, and there were banquettes and all that. So, and we would have microphones. So it depends who your manager was. If you had the crazy manager who liked to hide in the bathroom a lot and then come out when he was ready, he was always like, let's just sing, and he just turned into a party. And we also had like kind of party lights, so it was like this weird bar mitzvah going on, so you just and in the beginning it was you had to sing 50s music, and it was all done through karaoke. But what they weren't providing us with proper 50s music karaoke discs. They would be scratches in them, so you'd be singing, all of a sudden through the middle of your song it's skipping. So it was kind of right on Broadway. So right across there was a place called Colony Music, and Colony Music was like the place to go at the time. And they had everything from sheet music to records, to anything you wanted. And they also had karaoke CDs. So we were like, screw this. So we go over to Colony, just grabs, and we weren't buying, this is our own money. So we weren't going to buy 50 stuff. We were buying popular songs at the time. And that was probably, NSYNC was hugely popular. So
this is like the late 90s or so?
Oh yeah. So here goes, so that whole 50s theme starts going out the window, and all of a sudden, everyone's just doing their own thing. So we're singing 60s music, and we're doing, NSYNC and Hanson and all this other, and Michael Jackson and all this other stuff with some of the most talented people like I've ever encountered. Because, you got all these young people coming to New York from different places to do one thing, to be on Broadway. That was their goal. And some of the voices were incredible and just so much energy.
Did you get any of them in your Clown Motel movie?
I've talked to, one of my best friends today is, but she's a teacher, but when I did theater, she was always there. And as far as Clown Motel goes, I sent her 521 North Main Street. She still reads through all my scripts. Her husband is going to do the music for 521 North Main Street. Her husband does the music for our web series, It's Crazy Out There. So it's a family thing. It's still very connected.
So what was the song as a singing waiter that you preferred to do the most?
Oh, 50s wise, it was always,
or any generation.
My thing, it was, then it was going to be Dion and the Belmonts, Run Around Sue.
Okay.
Because people always seem to dig it. Dion is from New York and the Belmonts are from New York. I'm from New York. My parents grew up on that music. My mom loved that music. It was always played in the house. So I knew every word of it. And just Dion's voice back then was phenomenal. You know, you go, oh, just up and down with the duet. So yeah, it's a great song. There's lots of energy. It gets a crowd going. It's fun.
You created a strange irony for me. I was just recently watching an interview with a couple of guys from the show Ted Lasso. It's an Apple TV Plus show, and the guy was asked what his karaoke go-to song was, and it was "Run Around Sue" from Dion and the Belmonts. And I'm like, I haven't heard anybody talk about that song in ages, and yet you both said it in the same week. So,
I sang it last month.
Did you, Greg?
Yeah.
You actually were "Run Around Sue." I think that Dion wrote the song about you, right?
No, I was the Wanderer.
That's another good one. That's another good one, and people go crazy for that one.
I was around Greg.
I was the Incel Wanderer.
Everybody be careful about get around Greg.
So,
Get around Greg.
That's now become a Beach Boys.
I was fortunate to meet I met the Belmonts once without Dion. They were performing in some, I guess, some some 60s thing, and I was working backstage, and I was I was 19, and I was excited because it's the Belmonts, and there was talk like maybe Dion's gonna show up too, and I'm like, holy cow! And I was calling my mom like, "Mom, the Belmonts," and whatever. So Dion never showed up, but so after the show, I'm backstage, and there are the Belmonts, and of course I'm like, oh my God, you guys are so wonderful, and this and that. But I'm 19, I don't know any better, and I didn't mean anything by it. So I'm like, you guys did this and that, and I'm playing them all the way up, and then all of a sudden what comes out is, what happened to you guys?
Where'd you go? I would always want the question answered, what is a Belmont anyway?
Yeah,
like, how do you define a Belmont?
It's a street.
It's a street. And one of them looked at me and he was like, what do you mean? I thought he was gonna beat me. What do you mean? We had a Christmas album last year. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then like,
all my friends bought that. That's
it's right.
Huge
and
album.
then I'm like, and then I went, I told people, they're like, dude, you insulted them. And I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to insult them. I'm like, oh, should I go? And they're like, don't go apologize. They're gonna beat you. And I'm like, okay.
The Belmonts are known for coming after kids.
Coming after you.
The crap out of them.
You.
How dare you insult our memory of our lack of career for the last 30 years?
That was a fun place to work. I'll give them a shout out. That was the Westchester Broadway Theater. And oh God, where are they?
Was that actually on Broadway or is that in Westchester?
Chelmsford, New York. That was cool. It was like No, it was in Westchester County, but it was the Broadway of Westchester. So if you couldn't make it to Broadway, eventually the big Broadway show would come to the Westchester Broadway Theater. And
Greg, are you from Westchester County?
Right next door, Putnam.
Oh, wait, you live in Putnam?
That's where I grew up.
My I lived in Putnam Valley.
Yeah, I lived in Mahopac.
Yeah.
Lake Mahopac.
Yeah, my cousin lives in Mahopac, right? My parents still live in Putnam
Valley.
My cousin lives in Mahopac. No, I think she might have moved to Carmel. She moved to Carmel. They were in Mahopac. Then I moved to Carmel. But yeah, I moved there in my senior year in high school.
How'd you wind up in Texas?
My girlfriend said I was living in California. I moved to California. My girlfriend came to California from Arizona. I was going back to New York. We're living in New York for like 2 years. She was from New York also. We knew each other for years. But she had lived in Texas, and she said, for the amount of money we pay for rent here, we could have a house in Texas. So I was like, why don't you show me? And she got in her car and she drove to Texas. And like 2 weeks later, she came back and she laid out the paperwork. And I was like, I guess you got me. So here,
So I'm assuming you went to California to get into the movie business.
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I don't know. I'm going to
sound
lazy. No, I did actually surf though. That was kind of fun. But no, I was always turning things. So I was doing theater and I was happy. And I was kind of just there, I'm like, what am I going to do now? It's kind of cool, but I'm not making a lot of money. I'm still waiting tables here. And the play I'd just written, Galaxy Video, had gotten picked up and published. And someone in California at the University of Northridge, their acting teacher bought a copy. She said she was in New York. She found a copy of the book. She was on her way back to California. She read my play in this anthology of plays. And when she landed, she's like, I got to do this. So they called for permission. I ended up going to University of Northridge to watch the production of it. And one of my buddies from New York was managing an apartment complex at the time. And in that area where O.J. Simpson had killed his wife. So Brentwood, I guess, in that area.
Did you have a camera set up to see it happen?
No, unfortunately, no. But that was before.
Unfortunately.
That'll happen before I got there.
Did you find the glove?
No, I didn't find the glove.
You were walking the dog.
No, I found a shoe, but I don't think it was anyone's. It was different. It was weird too.
It's not O.J. Simpson's shoe.
And why didn't they just walk through? They know they lost a shoe? No. So he was like, dude, man, you just need to live here. So I went back to New York. He was like, I live for free. He's like, you'll live for free too, man. He's like, we'll be roommates. So, it was this weird California smoking pot attitude. So I got back to New York. I got to New York. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, I've turned everything else down. I'm like, screw it. Let's go to California. So I'm like, I'm coming, buddy. And he's like, dude, all right. And it really was just like that. But before I got there, they transferred him. So I get a phone call and he's like, dude, he's like, listen,
dude.
He's like, I got transferred. And I'm like, okay. He's like, but don't worry about it. He's like, it's to a better place. And I'm like,
a better
what
place
could be
California?
better than what was, no, it was in Cal, but now it's in a better location. I'm like, what could be better than what I just saw? He's like, look up Marina Del Rey. So I'm like, all right. And I'm like, holy shit, it's on the beach. I'm like, it's right next to Venice. So I ended up going out there and getting a job at this place called the Venice Whaler, which was on the marina side of, so basically there's this, there's a pier. And if you remember the movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas and Robert Duvall, at the end of the movie, Michael Douglas goes off the pier. That pier divides, is the dividing point. There's a whole circle, and then it goes onto the beach. There's a pier, so you can drive up and then turn back around. It's like a cul-de-sac. So the pier goes down the, so that pier is a dividing point between Venice Beach and the Marina Del Rey side. So I worked on the Marina Del Rey side at this bar, and let me tell you, I got there right before summer. It was probably the best summer of my life. It was watching a movie from the 1980s about, young people on a beach and all the partying. And you're like, that can't.
So you were living your own teen sex comedy.
Happen. It was really, it was sex,
you were
sex,
Baywatch.
drugs, and rock and roll. But
no,
now
he was
I'm
Private
sitting
Resort
there
with
and
Johnny
I love
Depp or
so
something.
much. Yeah, really, yeah. But I'm sitting there and it hits you. It's like, oh my God, this is dangerous, because in that movie, no one comes out alive, or it always ends bad. So it's like, but now you're kind of living it, so you need to step back a little bit, and so you're sitting behind the bar, people, and they're like moving faster than you're like, how can you be moving faster than me? And like, oh, that's why you go to the bathroom.
Did you wind up like having a
that's
lot of
why
sex with 40-year-old women or so at the time, or?
I was 35 at the time.
Oh, you were
when I
35.
went.
Okay.
I was 35 at the time. But no, I don't. Wow, we could have a whole conversation about that place. That was
that summer.
The Venice Whaler.
It was called the Whaler.
The Whaler. Yeah. And
so
yeah,
he was harpooning
it was crazy.
people left and right.
It was crazy. Just
Harpooning
picture
the
any.
whales.
Just think your wildest fantasy about a crazy 80s movie, or even like a porn. It was nutty. People
I
coming
think Weird
off the
Science would
beach.
have been like the bigger fantasy, though. Did you have like a woman come out of a computer?
Here you go. Here's a weird. All right, it's a John Hughes thing. Now you're on the beach, so every once in a while celebrities would wander in. So I'm a huge John Hughes fan. So my back is to the bar, and I'm like doing. I think I was it might have been on the register. My back is to the bar, and I hear somebody behind me go, "Yeah, when I was in that movie, John Hughes said," and I'm like, "Oh my God, someone is in the John Hughes movie and they're behind me." And I'm like, "Who is it?" And I'm like, "Don't turn around, be cool, just listen." So I'm listening and I'm like, no way. And I turn around, and he wasn't a big star in a John Hughes movie, but he's in 16 Candles. His name was Tony Longo.
Tony Longo. Sounds
Tony Longo.
familiar.
He's doing chin-ups with Jake. And they're talking about Molly Ringwald's character, Samantha. And they're going back and forth. He's like, you know that girl, Samantha? And Tony Longo's like, no. And he's like, and then the other guy's like, she's always staring at me. And Tony Longo's like, maybe she's retarded, you know? And so, and then if you look in the back of it, which makes the scene even great, is in the back of the scene, there's this wrestling match going on with this little kid and this giant of a guy chasing them around, just trying to catch him.
I hate to give you very bad news, but he actually passed away about 6 years ago.
Yes, I know. I looked it up. I was like, oh, but if you saw him, you would go, because I was surprised. I was like, oh my God, he lived this long. Not to be mean or anything, but he wasn't in the greatest shape. And then when you sit at a bar, you're bartending, you know, it wasn't the first time that was the first time I saw him. But after that, you know, it was like, hey, Mark, hey, it's my friend Mark. And I'm like, oh, sometimes I don't want to serve you. It's nutty. You're ooh.
Well,
so would you sing?
He was like 6'6".
Were you a singing bartender? Would you sing?
No, well, we had karaoke on Sunday nights. And it was amazing. It was intense karaoke. And yeah,
so you went from being the singing waiter to the singing whaler.
Yeah, I got in good with the karaoke DJ, and he loved to sing. And I love to harmonize. So he would be like, Mark, take the mic. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go. And sometimes if there are people there that are really into it, sometimes girls will get on the bar and sing. So then I jump on the bar with them and sing. But then after a while, you know, you're like, oh, I got to work. People are getting mad.
So you did a lot of waiting jobs, but it was all designed to get you into the entertainment business. I mean, what was like your overarching ambition? What was the thing that was driving you back in the day besides going out to California to be with your buddy?
Well, it was, I always loved, I was in a dance company, but I needed to pay my bills. So waiting always was there. I'm like, I can wait. Then I was like, well, I wait tables. I should learn how to bartend also, because bartenders make more money. And if I make more money, I can do more things, and I can, you know, so I started bartending as well. Then I even got into managing, because it was always the drive to do theater, because I was always doing both. And it wasn't like I have nothing to do. We ran a theater company at the time. We had access to 3 small theaters on the east side of Manhattan in downtown. So, you know, after work, and I worked right within the 3 that I could walk to them. So after work, you know, I would have ideas at work, because I wasn't, you know, I was waiting tables. I really didn't pay attention. So it was like, okay, here's the menu. I know the menu. Okay. And people, you know, it just became robotic after a while. So while I'm handing stuff out to
and he froze.
People and taking orders, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, that's a great idea, Mark. Yeah, you should write that when you get home. Or after you get, you know, your shift, go into the theater and, you know, do that lighting pattern you just saw on your head, or do that. So it just became, I don't know. It was almost like the waiting tables was supporting my theater habit. So the theater was a drug, and this was my money to get that drug.
So you never did theater in your 20s? You would just, did you do any theater when you were younger?
Yeah, I started singing. So 18, like I always sang. At 18, I had this great idea. Why don't I try to go to the Apollo Theater? That would be a great idea. So I did. I sang at the Apollo at amateur night at the Apollo. That wasn't on the TV. I survived.
Did they boo you, or were they happy?
This was great, and it made my mom very happy. My mom was like, "Oh my God!" But then she was like, "Oh, okay." The minute I got on the stage, they started to boo. Then I started to sing, and I remember that. And the booing got a little bit louder. But I'm like, I'm gonna stick it out. So I kept singing, and my mom.
What did you sing for the audience of the Apollo? It was like "In a God Demeter" or something, or
Just Once by Quincy Jones. I think Quincy wrote it.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, I think it's a Luther Ingram song, right?
Not John. No, James Ingram. James or Jeffrey Osborne. James Ingram, I believe, sang the song.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm singing this song.
So that took some cojones to get onto the stage of the Apollo to sing that song.
Yeah.
As a white boy.
Oh. Yeah, and my mom's like, you looked even whiter coming out in the suit you chose to wear, because you gotta understand, it's like the 80s. So I had like on, you know, this white thing with these black specks on it, and this like jacket with the shoulder pads, and my hair was like, you know, brushed back and gelled on the sides, and I'm singing, and they're booing louder, the people are booing louder, and then all of a sudden, I'm guessing it's a woman, because it could have been a man with a very feminine voice, said, "Give him a chance." And the booing stopped.
Huh.
And I was like, holy shit, whoever that was is awesome. And I got through the song, and they clapped, and I got off the stage.
Nice.
Whew. But yes,
Well, at least you
that was
can't
how-
take it to heart because they were booing before you even showed you had any
Yeah.
talent. So you can't actually blame your ability for the booing.
No.
Yeah.
Then I walked.
They
in.
were booing because you were white, I think.
No, they were
It's-
booing because
no,
he
they
was
were-
there.
They are. We were all in the green room, and they basically prime you. They're like, they tell you, they're here to boo you. They're here to dislike you. This is the game. This is it. It's not like you're gonna get out there and they're gonna give you a shot. No, you have to win them over from the very beginning. So you still want to go out there? Then you go. But don't cry about it.
I think you should go out there and throw chocolate bars or candy to toss it out at the beginning and then start singing. It might go over better. I'm not sure.
And then the best, if you don't go first, you get to sit down there and watch on the monitor as the people that you're standing there with go out and then come back because they go out smiling and and then you watch what happens on stage and they come back and it's like, wow, oh, maybe I don't want to go out there.
A world of
God.
tears.
Yeah, it's like the Squid Game would be better than this. Shoot me now.
I'm so proud of you for doing that, Mark. That is amazing. I couldn't have done that in a million years.
Well, this does bring us to about the halfway point in our show, and I was going to ask you to give us any links or any specific information that you want to promote to the audience before we move into the second half of the show. So this is the time to fully promote what you're doing and where people can find your stuff.
All right, cool. So we have the movie coming out. Not coming out. We're starting shooting January 4th in Texas. We just shot the exteriors out here. We don't have our website for that built yet, but we do have our high5andantsproductions.com website. So if you go on there now, you can see stuff about It's Crazy Out There, the web series / television series. We don't know yet, but we shot 3 episodes up. You can read some stuff about that. There's, I think
you said High Five and Ants. Can you spell that out for the audience? Yeah.
High Five and HIGH, 5 and FIVEN, Ants ANTS. 5 and Ants, High 5 and Ants Productions.com.
Just COM.
Like picture 2 ants high-fiving.
That's exactly it. So I'll throw you really quick.
So basically it's like ants missing a limb because they can only high five. They
I was
can't
in the
high
driveway
six.
with my girlfriend. There was this seam in the driveway, that splits the cars and the sidewalk. And I'm like, wouldn't it be great if one ant was coming this way and one ant was coming this way in the seam? And they were just like, what's up? And they high-fived and then they just walked past each other. High 5 and Ants. There you go.
That's the sign of an imagination.
I'm sure I smoked something before that.
It rolls off the tongue.
High 5 and Ants. There it is.
As long as it wasn't any arsenic or anything.
And that's the logo. You'll see.
5 and Ants.
All right. Well, this brings us to the cooking segment of our show. So we're going to let our our correspondent, what's his name? I can't even remember his name anymore. Waspy Soda Pop.
Right. I was going to say Peppers McGillicuddy.
I think that's his Irish neighbor. Anyway,
that's a name at a strip club I would leave. Next up for the ball coming out, Peppers McGillicuddy. I'm out, guys. Gotta go. I don't think I'll ever come back.
All right. Well, this is Food is for Eating.
Food is for eating. Food is for eating. Food is for eating with Waspy Soda Pop.
Hey, everybody. This is Waspy Soda Pop, and I'm here with a really tasty new recipe called macaroni breakfast sausage. It's real good. So you get a tablespoon. I'm going to tell you your ingredients. I mean, why are you trying to jump the gun? 1 tablespoon of chopped fresh sage leaves, 2 teaspoons of chopped fresh thyme leaves. Take notes, everybody. 1 teaspoon of fennel seeds, crush them. 1/2 a teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. That's optional, though. 1/8 a teaspoon ground nutmeg, some kosher salt, some freshly ground black pepper. Do that to taste. 1.5 pounds of macaroni. You could use shells. You could do elbow macaroni. You could do rigatoni. I'd have to call my friend Vespa Babita Pop, my cousin, and he'd probably know better like what kind of noodles you want to use. But I say just use regular elbow macaroni like you'd be making macaroni and cheese at home, with like American cheese or whatever kind of cheese you're gonna put it. Anyway, you get 3 slices of uncooked bacon. You dice them, and that doesn't mean that you roll them like dice, because that would be really weird. You just want to cut them up into little tiny pieces. Then you get 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. That is also optional. If you had a sweet tooth, you throw that in. 1 tablespoon of canola oil. Now you're going to mix the sage stuff together in a small bowl. You get the sage and the thyme and the fennel seeds and the red pepper flakes, optional, the nutmeg, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper. Then, in a large bowl, first you got to cook the macaroni, right? So you know how to cook macaroni? It's on the frickin' box. Just look at the box. It'll tell you. It's usually like 10 minutes in boiling water, but that should be fine. Anyway, in a large bowl, you combine the macaroni, the bacon, the maple syrup, and the sage mixture. And be careful not to overmix. I don't know what that means, but it says not to overmix it. So I think that means don't pour it over your head. Then, to shape the patties, you scoop out a 1/4 cup, about 2 ounces, of the macaroni mixture. You flatten it to create 2.5 to 3 inch wide patties. You get about 16 patties that way. That's not peppermint patties, because that's chocolate and peppermint, and that would be nasty in terms of making like a breakfast sausage. And this is, of course, the macaroni breakfast sausage. Anyway, you heat your canola oil in a large skillet over medium heat. You add your macaroni sausage patties, and you cook until brown, about 2-3 minutes per side. There you go. You got yourself one of the best tasting breakfast sausage you could ever have. Macaroni breakfast sausage. I'm Waspy Soda Pop, and this is Food is for Eating. One of his lesser inspired recipes, but still odd.
It was totally legal, this one. No laws had to be
right.
broken.
No, he didn't have
endangered
to.
species had to be killed.
Didn't have to get any ashes from a dead emperor this time. That's good.
Yeah.
I
That actually sounds
want
really
that
good.
recipe.
I don't
I
know if
want
you could
mac
make
and cheese
sausage with macaroni though. It's like as the main component.
I'd like to try.
You can
Sorry.
make kind of a patty burger out of macaroni and cheese, because I've seen it done. Macaroni and cheeseburger.
Just
I had
squish
one
it
in
all together with
California
bacon.
once. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
I think this is like more of a legit recipe than the ones in the past. So I think we lost the comedic quality to this particular recipe.
It did sound like Sodi had been hanging out in the bathroom with Mark's friends, though.
I think
somewhere
he has
in
a
the
bit
middle,
of a
he's
meth issue, actually.
Is it what it is? I was going to say there's something. I mean, if I could see him doing this, then maybe I would know he wasn't doing this. But
Waspy has some twitching problems, I think.
He's
Just
definitely
gauging from the
chilling
voice.
with some Rick and Morty and eating. Yeah.
That's right. I don't know
Wow.
if it's Rick or Morty. All right. Well, that brings us now to our client for the show. And Mark, you're totally welcome to stick around for this. It's entirely up to you. We welcome anybody who wants to join in on the discussion. But our client for today is That's a Fine Looking Werewolf. And essentially that's just, we've had numerous different episodes that have dealt with different like movie monsters. But in this case, we finally got to werewolves. So I know that werewolves have had an interesting career, at least in movies, not necessarily in written fiction so much. You don't really hear about a lot of werewolf books. That there's not like some seminal werewolf book, unless you guys have heard of one. Greg, is that familiar to you? No. So, I mean, as far as I know, my earliest memory of a werewolf goes back to like Lon Chaney with the kind of like the he hasn't shaved in a few months type of look werewolf. So it wasn't quite that good looking of a werewolf back in the day. Right. But and then the next, I think, the major piece of cinema besides Son of a Werewolf, or Son of Wolf, or whatever, I don't know what it's called, was probably American Werewolf in London. I think was like the one that brought the werewolf back to popular culture. I think mainly because
changed in front of you. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, right. It was using like
it was the first time really watching them change. Like you heard him. You felt his pain.
The first time you realized how fucking painful it would be to turn into a werewolf.
Yeah,
Your bones are stretching
and the clothes go too. Their clothes were gone. He lost all his clothes.
And then right after that, it was like the howling and wolfing. It became a little thing for a while.
Well, the
werewolf trend.
The howling was supposed to, I believe, the howling was supposed to come first. They were working on the howling. Joe Dante had they were going to start the howling, and he had Rick Baker. He had Rick Baker, who ended up doing the makeup for An American Werewolf in London, but Joe Dante, I believe, had him first. And John Landis, Rick Baker had promised him, like, I owe you one. And John Landis was going to do An American Werewolf in London. He's like, remember that a favor? He's like, I'm calling it in. Come do my movie. So Rick Baker went to An American Werewolf in London, but in return, Joe Dante with the howling, he got Rob Bottin. And Rob Bottin's an incredible makeup artist. He did the The Howling. Not The Howling. He did The Howling, obviously, but he also did. The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. He built RoboCop. There you go. He gave us RoboCop. That's his design.
Imagine if RoboCop had been a werewolf. That I think would have been
Phenomenal.
a much different movie. I was also just now thinking that you never hear about werewolves as tiny creatures. In other words, like there are these fictional representations of fairies, which are small things with.
Are we getting back
wings.
to homunculus again?
No, but I was thinking, what if a werewolf was a fairy? So if you had like a little werewolf flying around with wings,
Does it
would
bite?
That would be adorable.
But does it?
Yeah.
No,
Is
I
that
mean,
like
Mosquito, like a big
like a
mosquito.
were-gerbil? I was going to say,
Yeah.
like, the whole spectrum of lycanthropes has not been touched. We just have a werewolf, but there could be were-bears, were-rabbits,
Yeah, I think a
I'm a
lot of those.
manatee.
Were manatee. But where are the were butterflies though? It's like people turn into a butterfly and they get really big teeth.
There could be, but when I go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, I turn into a were manatee. I just come home and I loll about naked, just like
So you're a were sea cow.
yes.
Somebody
Do you-
run over you with a boat.
Here's what?
over you with a
To
boat.
run
you
over
said.
you with a boat. That's a
He's
big
in
thing
Florida.
have
They
to do.
kill
That could happen.
manatees in Florida, Greg.
Yeah, I didn't realize this.
Well, no. You really don't kill them. What the thing to do down here is people like abuse them and ride them. That's a pretty popular sport.
They ride manatees.
Like Bronco busting.
Do they like
Yeah, it's
tie?
like a
You said they
rodeo.
tie them to the back of boats like skis. You get like 2 manatees and ride them like skis, or
I'm sure some dumb redneck's done that, but no. But they'll go out and they'll swim. There's a Crystal River's just up the road, and they'll go out and swim, and then they'll see them, and then they kind of wake them up because they mostly just sort of float near the bottom. So you have to kind of go and wake them up, and then they come to the surface, and then they hop on them, and they don't really do much. But
so they have like a manatee fluffer to get the manatee like ready to go.
yeah, because they're not really.
They're not
exciting
fucking the
creatures.
manatee, Matt. They're riding them. They don't need a
Somebody
fluffer.
probably did.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a Florida story about that.
They say that that's the origin of the mermaid myth. These lonely sailors would see these, manatee or /sea cows in the ocean, and they were kind of smooth. So if you're that horny, it looks pretty good to you.
They're kind of smooth.
Wow.
Yeah,
What do you
they're
mean by
very
smooth, Greg?
They're smooth creatures. They're like
They have really good social skills. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Yeah,
Manatee's
manatee.
smoking a cigarette,
Yeah.
hanging out of the bar, going, "How you doing? Nice to meet you."
Smooth to the touch.
What's your sign on Pisces?
That manatee was
baby.
smooth and picked up Greg at the bar.
Hey, does my mouth taste funny to you? Come on.
Need a wingman? I'm it.
So you have a were manatee, but if that would what would they change at the full moon if you're a were manatee, Greg? Or would it be like
I
a
haven't thought
different,
it
be like
through.
a crescent moon, perhaps, as opposed to a full
No,
moon
in
for
my
a were
case,
manatee.
it's just when I go to an all-you-can-eat buffet. That's what I change.
You see the sign of the all-you-can-eat. The neon sign is what changes you into the manatee.
I have to fight it until I eat it, and then I can't. I'm just like the guy in American Werewolf.
He's
I
the same
changed.
guy who also sang "Making It."
Yeah.
Making it. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
He was in that show, and he was the Dr. Pepper guy. Remember?
Yeah, it's Dr.
Oh,
Pepper's
it's
guy.
Dr. Pepper.
Oh, for American Werewolf. I was going.
David.
Yes.
What's his name? David
Nottingham.
No,
No, it's
Says
David
that.
something else.
David Nottingham. Hold on.
No,
not
Nottingham
Bellingham.
or Bellingham. It's
David.
not Nottingham.
Sheriff.
There's
I
no
can't
form
believe I
of
can't
ham
remember that.
there, unless you're a werepig. And there's no movies about
American Werewolf
werepigs.
London.
That'd be a good one.
A
Norton,
werepig,
American Werewolf.
Were-warthog? a
Pigs
were-zebra.
are scary, man.
David
You guys have
Naughton.
pigs
David
in
Naughton.
there?
Naughton.
Yeah, David Naughton.
Norton.
David Naughton.
Yeah, Naughton sounds better than Nottingham.
Nottingham. He was part of.
You're close.
Robin
I mean,
Hood.
it was like you, if you compress the word together, then you'd have Naughton from
Yes.
Nottingham. You
I
get
was
rid of like
like-
a syllable in the middle there, you would have been correct.
I was
And
like
then the word-
nodding. I was thinking, how did Mama Cass die? Ham sandwich. Nottingham. I confused them both.
Can
I
I
was
just
just
go off on a
thinking
nerdy tangent here? I just
No,
wanna
you
say
never do that, Greg,
Yeah, so I'm gonna break character here, and
because we're not being nerds right now.
I
This
just
is
wanna
all
say that
very
the-
scientific.
at the special effects in the thing, I just saw it probably again 2 years ago, and maybe American Werewolf I saw a few years before that. those effects still, I sound like an old man. I still like more than CGI.
You are an old man, Greg.
I know, but I sound like a doddering old like man because I watch new stuff. I keep up with some things, but those effects still are amazing, and I don't even know how Rob Bottin did that shit in the thing.
The thing is amazing. It's probably one of the best for practical effects movies ever made, in my opinion.
What pulls it off are the actors.
It's crazy imaginative. Yes, it's such a good movie.
You need a strong cast to pull off all that shit.
All around.
You know? It's 12 angry men in Antarctica with a space alien. It's the same thing as the play.
It's also about the paranoia. It's almost like that
is.
Twilight Zone episode, The Monsters Who Do on Maple Street, where it's like, we don't know who to trust.
You don't know who to trust. You're going to start turning on each other.
Scary.
Yeah.
So can I go back to your movie? I'm just curious. The title doesn't sound like a horror movie. It could be anything. Yeah. Is there a reason behind that title? Is there some kind of...
Oh, well, the Clown Motel was the original title, but then someone beat me to it. And then we went through a whole list of things. And finally, it was just like, okay, 521 North Main Street is the address of the place. So let's just use that. And I took that. Finally, I was just like, I broke it down to like, I think 3 titles. So one was 521 North Main Street. One was the Entity Explorers, because that's the name of the ghost hunting crew in the movie.
And the other one was Werepig.
And the other one, I forgot what it was. And so then from there, I would call up my
nephew. Title.
My nephews who are like 12 and like 10 and ask them their opinion, because I'm like, who would the demographic be? And I'm like, it's not going to be someone my age. And I thought about, Friday the 13th and Halloween. How old was I when those movies came out? And A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I'm like, well, I was this age. So I'm like, those are my nephews. Let's call them. They're going to be the ones who are going to go see this movie. So, and their friends are. So I said, what do you guys think? So they started giving me their opinion. And I'm like, you need to go ask your friends. So then I called up my nephews who were the same age. I'm like, okay, what do you think? And this and that. And then I called up my cousin's kids. And from there on until it broke down to 521 North Main
All the market research. So the main villain in it is a wereclown, I believe, right?
It's 3 wereclowns.
Into a clown.
There is.
I think actually most clowns are wereclowns, aren't they? I just thought about that.
I will tell you, someone does they actually turn into a clown. And it's not pretty. They do. It's painful.
Not a pretty clown.
Yeah, we wanted to turn someone.
I saw a flyer up here in town a couple of years ago, and it was the best name ever for a band. It was called Weresquatch. So it's a werewolf Sasquatch.
See, that would
wrap your brain around that. You make your next movie about that.
The Weresquatch.
Yeah, but isn't Squatch currently isn't Squatch now currently a brand name for soap?
I don't know.
I think there's a soap out there called Squatch, and there's like a brand called Squatch.
But would a Weresquatch kill people, or would it be hiding all the time?
I don't know. It's just a band name, but I was thinking, wow, werewolf.
Well, I think that would be the opposite of an actual Sasquatch. The Weresquatch would be willing to go out into the public and finally let everybody know that it exists.
And then when
the moon changes, it goes, "What have I done? I've given away my entire secrecy, and now everyone knows that I'm
that could
real."
Work. If it was a band, half the band could hide and the other half could be on stage. You don't know.
Yeah, Greg, what if it's actually for real? What if all the members of the band are Weresquatches?
I never thought of that. God, I just chills went up my spine just now.
You need to go track them down and follow them for at least
thought it was
a month.
Clever band name, and now I'm scared to live in Portland.
I think there's a horror movie called Black Rose where there's a band that comes to town and they're there for like a couple of days. And then they keep giving away free tickets to the kids because they're demons. They're like devils, and they want to take everyone over. So they keep bringing them back to the concert.
I think I've
Black Rose.
I think I've seen that or I've heard of it.
That sounds like a Jack T. Chick comic track. It's one of those Christian scary comics.
Wasn't that kind of like the premise of From Dusk Till Dawn from Tarantino? Was kind of like everybody goes into the bar and they have to keep coming back to get sucked into hell or something.
So funny, the titty twister. That way, because when we were driving to Tonopah yesterday with my DP, we were talking about movies, and then that movie came up, and for like 5 minutes, we're like, what was the name of that movie? And then I was like, oh, it's The Dusk to Dawn. Yes. Yeah.
The name of the movie wasn't Titty Twister?
No, that was the name of the place, but that's a great name. But here's my opinion on that movie really quick. It's directed by Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, but Tarantino does the first half of that movie, which, quite honestly, I don't need. I don't, you don't need, it's great. And, there's a lot of dialogue. You get to see the two brothers. I really don't care. But that second half, when they get to the titty twister and the whole hell breaks loose and everyone, that Robert Rodriguez half, that's phenomenal. I love that. And
that's why I kind of like that movie, though. It's such a weird movie how you have no idea it's even a horror movie for the first half. It's a crime movie. And if you didn't see the posters or hear about it, you would just be like, oh, I'm watching a crime movie. And then it's like, what the fuck? It's like,
he could shorten that whole beginning. It's just like, oh, okay, I get it. The brother's a sex offender and he wears a mouth guard and you're George Clooney and you're not on ER right now. And I get it. Nice fake tattoos.
And you're sad because you're not an ER. So
yeah, you used to be on, I don't know, The Facts of Life. Yeah,
but George Clooney goes to one of the old horror movies. He was in Attack of the Killer
Tomatoes. Absolutely.
What?
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the original one or if it was Return of the Killer Tomatoes, but that was George Clooney's first movie role, was in a Killer Tomatoes movie.
I never knew that.
Explains. That's probably where he got the fake tattoo from. The tomatoes exploded and got under his skin, formed into some kind of
fake tomato tattoo. He's a were-tomato.
He's a were-tomato. In that movie, they were kind of like were-vampires because they looked normal, and then they suddenly turned into vampires, which I don't think is a normal ability of vampires.
That's not a thing in the typical vampire lore.
I think they don't look like vampires when they close their mouth, but that's the only time you think they're different, because then they make them more kind of demonic looking in the rest of that movie.
I don't know
what if you're a were-demon? You're a demon who actually turns into a normal human being. That's the were.
No, you turn into a priest. Not a rapey, not a child raping priest, a good priest, an actual nice, good priest.
Why not?
Did you guys?
That's kind of cool.
I always thought at the end of The Howling, though, I don't know if you guys remember the scene where the news reporter, the woman, turns into a werewolf on screen. And she looks like a cat, though. So she's like a werecat.
She's really cute.
She's a pretty cute werecat.
She's got a tear coming out. And her nose is twitching and everyone's watching. Oh, this is great. Oh, these can do anything on TV. Then they shoot her. That's horrifying.
And then she's
they're like, cut the feed.
Everyone's looking on horror. That's terrible. If you haven't seen the movie, I just sound psychotic right now. Oh, she died. That's comedy.
That was a fine looking werecat as opposed to a werewolf, I suppose.
Yeah, she did. She was cute.
Well, then there was the movie Cats, which was werecats.
There you go.
No, not the Broadway one. The one with Malcolm McDowell and Natasha.
Cat people.
Absolutely. Cat people.
There you go.
It's like I didn't know there was another one called Cats before.
Yeah, it was kind of. They were
but I like the concept.
Was the non-singing version.
They were
inspired to make the movie.
They probably wouldn't have bombed so hard if they'd actually been werecats in the musical version of Cats. If they'd turned and just started going after the humans, and the humans in that movie would have had to have been gigantic. You would have had major special effects happening to show the.
But there haven't been any other movies exploring the were/animal theme, have there? Huh? It's just
there's Teen Wolf.
Yeah. No, I'm saying wolf. I'm saying there's never been a were-pig. There's never been a were.
Well, there is one movie that has a were-bear in it, and that is The Hobbit. Has a were-bear in it. It's a man who can turn into a bear.
I forgot that.
Yeah. So in The Hobbit, they actually explored, or at least in the book, they did translate it into the movie.
Yeah.
But so as a guy turns into a bear, and there's a whole story behind it.
I think the best interpretation of werewolves, though, is a current TV show called What We Do in the Shadows about vampires. And every now and then they have a run-in with werewolves, and these guys are just like a bunch of chuckleheads who they're like dogs. So if a car drives by, they'll just be distracted and start chasing that car. And you can throw a bone off the roof of the building, and they'll jump off the roof trying to get the bone. Even though they're humans, they're fucking like dogs.
That's awesome.
Well, there was a revitalization of the werewolves, but as secondary characters in the Underworld movies.
Yeah,
and then also in the TV show True Blood as well, where the werewolves were like the good guys because they were fighting the vampires in that show.
Ooh.
Oh.
I like an underworld though. The werewolves were like heavy metal dudes. They were
Yeah.
like bikers. They were kind of cool.
Yeah, in
grungy
True Blood,
dudes.
they made them kind of redneck trucker / rocker types as well. They weren't as cool as the vampires, who are like svelte and sexy types, you know, because I guess drinking blood makes you that way, as
Yeah.
opposed to werewolves who
Yeah.
rip things with their teeth. Maybe, or maybe they just hang out in doghouses and wait for somebody to throw bones for
Does
them. I don't
Brendan know he's muted, or is that intentional?
Brendan
there
is
we
not muted.
He was.
I
He had a
was
fart,
muted
I think.
because you know my dachshund was starting to go off downstairs. He was objecting to all this dog hate that Greg was spewing about their dogs, they're dumb, and you know, stereotypical stuff. So
That
I
was
got a little
pretty
upset,
dumb.
so I put it on mute.
I love dogs, but they're dumb as their rock.
Is it just because they can't talk to you, Greg?
Better,
Dogs are
they're better
smart.
than cats. Dogs are smart.
I've got a
Cats are
dog in my
dumb.
house right now. Watch this. Okay, let's see. Let's see.
What are you doing, Greg? Why are
Can
you
you see?
taking us
Boo!
as a tour through his
Hey,
apartment?
Boo!
Oh, it's a
Watch.
poodle.
Boo,
Where's the
what's
dog?
2 plus 2? Watch. Boo, what's 2 plus 2? Yeah, you don't know. You're a fucking
I
moron.
heard him stamp his feet 4 times.
He's just
Nice.
shy. He wasn't expecting. You can't put him on
No,
the spot.
he's
Put him
like
on the
that.
spot. He was looking for calculus questions, Greg. Give him a calculus question. I bet he nails it. Do you know any calculus questions, Greg?
Would that be the quadratic equation?
No, that means
Ooh,
you're
what's
as
the
dumb as the
quadratic
dog
equation?
is what it means, Greg.
Poor dog probably just woke up, came down. What's
Ooh,
I
going
was
on?
what's
like,
the
why is this
capital?
guy pointing a tablet at me?
What's the
You see
capital
that
of
wall, though,
Massachusetts?
behind the dog? That is filled with comic books, in case you guys
nice.
didn't know.
Because I'm that cool.
Greg
Because
has
I'm awesome.
10,000 comic books, and not one of them is about werebeetles.
Oh,
Ooh, werebugs. Another good idea.
Where
Yes.
ant? What
I think the
about a were
closest thing
ant?
we got to a were insect was the fly, where it was like
Oh,
a
yeah.
were fly.
Kind of like a werefly. Yeah.
where Jeff Goldblum? Huh?
That would be a monster in and of itself.
Ugh.
Like somebody who accidentally turns into Jeff Goldblum.
What if I became like a were-Q guy?
Yes,
Like, on a full moon, I'd become a QAnon person.
Where QAnon,
A were-Q.
where Trump,
Just
your hair just
everyone-
starts
Yeah.
flopping up and down.
Yeah, just a MAGA hat would appear on my head.
You wake up in the morning. What did I do?
I'd have
What
no
did I do?
rational. I'd
Where
have
did this
no
hat come from?
faculties for 3 days. I'd just be like, nothing's true. I believe everything.
I mean, you know,
I'm in
live-
Facebook jail. What did I say last night?
yeah, living here in Florida, that's not that far from the truth. I know some people that you'd go, he's a normal
He seems perfectly
guy.
normal.
He's got a 9 to 5 job. He's an accountant. And at night, he believes that there are lizards that shift, and you know, it's true. There's all sorts
True.
of weirdos.
We're
What's
weirdos.
wrong with
We're
the
weirdos.
lizards? Hey, V wasn't just a TV show, okay? It was a warning.
It was a, it was a
Right?
sign.
So don't talk about lizards. They're real.
That is a whole belief system from QAnon, though. It's like
There's
the,
a reason why
the
Robert
reptilian.
Englund went
So
on
they're
to
were
Freddy Krueger.
reptiles of some kind. What kind of reptiles we don't know.
That's not a Q thing. That's been going on for decades. That's a typical wacko thing. Like I remember this woman at the cafe where I worked. We would give people little toy animals,
Yeah.
so we knew where their meal was. Like, okay, here, take this. And this one little like
Should have like a
white-
pile of
wait a minute.
breadcrumbs for them to follow with the toy animal.
You
No,
gave the
just it.
patrons toy animals so you would
What's
know
that?
where
Giving
their
him,
food
instead
was?
of giving him a
I don't want to hear
number,
about this lady. I want to understand whose bright idea this was.
Toy animals.
Here's a plastic.
yeah, instead
poodle.
of giving him a number, they thought it was cute to have like little toy plastic figurines. Like, oh, so
Here's
that,
your
that
little toy
sandwich-
platypus to play with while you're waiting for your food.
That pesto sandwich goes to the Tyrannosaurus Rex, you know, and then that's how I'd find it. But this one little white-haired lady, she
You
looked
can
like
just take a
little,
name.
She was so sweet. She was always like very nice. And once
First
I
name,
like,
last
offered
initial.
her the dinosaur, and she was like, "Please, I do not associate with reptilians." She basically said that. She said, "I want another animal." So I gave her a hedgehog or something, or I don't know. I gave her something. But she was really freaked out. She was just like,
That
"Please
you
get that
handed
away
her
from
a dinosaur. Just brought her back to like when she had a bad experience watching Land of the Lost or something.
There you go. Flea stacks, bro. Flea stacks are
I
no
should have
joke.
given her a flea stack.
God, you don't play with those, man.
So I was always most frightened of
It's
the part
very
when they were
stressful
stuck
to
in the
watch your
cave.
father get, go back in time without you, and they were abandoned there. Those poor kids, Will and his sister, and poor
Well, the father
Chaka.
was there.
Chaka.
But
I forgot about Chaka.
The father goes back. He falls back through by accident. They find a way to go back. They're going to go back through the door of time. I think there's an earthquake. The father falls through the door of time, but the kids get stuck there. And then in the next season, the uncle who was looking for them goes down the
I forgot
thing.
about that.
So I guess the actor,
waterfall,
I don't know. There was a contract dispute, or someone got off the show, and then they had to bring in someone else.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't. Yeah.
He wanted to get that mad. He wanted to get that mad lunchbox money.
Right. That was probably it.
I think we're on a lot of lunchboxes, weren't they, back in the day?
You guys, I had that lunchbox. I did.
See? There you go.
Yeah.
You're a wear slee stack, Greg.
He tried to pull a Suzanne Summers. Hey, I'm big on this show. I need more money. They're like, you're not that big. Bye.
Most of those depictions of aliens do look like slee stacks, don't they? Maybe that's where they all got it from. It's like whoever created the slee stack for Land of the Lost is actually the one who created the movement of giant-eyed aliens for all the UFO lovers out there.
Do they ever get back?
Black eyes.
How does that show end? Do they ever get back?
They lived
think
forever, so since they never died, they were actually able to live through time and make it back to when they were born. Yeah.
Did they take
So
chocolate?
it's like she's
You're
lying.
making this up. Yo, don't do
No, he's
that.
making-
I
no,
don't make anything up. Every word that comes out of my mouth is a fact.
The show was canceled before they ever got back, but I hated that show. Sorry. I almost said loved. I don't know why. But they couldn't afford much special effects, so they'd show that same dinosaur scene like every episode.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, look, there's two dinosaurs fighting. We have to run. And it'd be the same claymation or whatever it was, stop motion. They had like a 20-second segment of dinosaurs fighting.
Well, the hardest
They
part was
just
just
used it.
training the dinosaurs to move at those particular times. It's like giving the right motivation to the dinosaurs so that the dinosaur do what you
Well,
want.
they had a good dinosaur trainer on set. He
Yeah.
was pretty
You
good.
were a real picky 11-year-old watching your Sid and Marty Croft. Oh, loves
There it
like
is.
dinosaurs.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted to see dinosaurs fighting. That's what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see Will and Marshall.
Well, that
talking all
was
the
Saturday
time.
morning. You watched, some Ray Harryhausen or one of those things.
Yeah.
Did you later watch that show, Greg, that was the Dinosaur Family, where it was like dinosaurs that lived like
Dinosaurs?
a
Yeah,
middle-class
dinosaurs.
I
existence?
love that show.
Well,
That
of
show's
course, now
brilliant.
it all makes sense, Brendan.
Yeah.
You'd love
Anyone
that
who loves
show.
that show has got to have something wrong with
You
them.
gotta watch that show.
Did you
talks
see
about heavy
the-
shit?
Did you see the series finale when the meteorite comes and basically kills him?
Is that true?
It's true.
That's
No.
awesome. That's a great
It was
Are you
literally-
ending.
serious? Was there?
Yes. Yeah. That was one of the only
It's
ones I
not
saw.
like a
and they're all
surprise ending, though. Thinking, no, it's history. What happens?
They actually ended
It was
the
a
show.
documentary, not a show.
It was. They were all. I think they were all huddled together in their like cave or whatever. Like, oh no! And I was like, wow, really?
Okay, is that on
baby.
Hulu?
Yeah,
No, I swear to
baby, the
God,
whole crew.
guys, I never watched Dinosaurs when it came out, but then it was on repeats when I was in my 30s and I started watching it. There's episodes that like totally question religion. Like they
Yeah.
talk about the heavy shit. It's like some serious satire going on there. I'm
There
not
was
shitting
one-
you.
Yeah, there was one where the teenage dinosaur got hooked on steroids. I don't know if you remember that one. I'm serious.
Steroids? Dinosteroids.
Dinoroids. I don't know what they were, but
He got
yeah.
hooked on Tyrannosaurus meth.
That's awesome. There's an episode about sexual harassment where the guy's name was Sexual Harris, and he was always messing with the girls. So it becomes
That's
sexual
right.
harassment. They're like, this guy's so great. What's his name? Sexual Harris. You're great, man, with the girls. Yeah.
Wow. All right. I didn't know
Ahead
anything
of
about that
its
show.
time, but
Never saw
behind.
it. So ahead of its time that
But
it
behind,
was hit by a
yeah.
meteorite. All right, well, that does bring us to the end of our show. But Mark, please do provide more information for anybody who wants to find out what you're doing and where to go and how they can track you down and where
But I
you
want to
live
keep talking about flea stacks.
and what your social security number is and all that.
Really?
Oh, we could talk about sleep stacks. I'll talk about sleep stacks. I can go another. I'm just sitting here, guys. I'm not going anywhere.
Greg just got through saying that he hated the show.
No, I loved it as a kid, but I was annoyed that there weren't more dinosaur scenes. I just wanted more.
Oh, let's do another episode. Let's talk about Showgirl with Elizabeth Berkley.
Let's just go through all the Sid and Marty Krofft stuff from the 70s. You know, like
wasn't
HR
Electric Woman and
stuff.
Dinah Puffin stuff.
I'm not drunk enough to do that. I need some drugs.
There you go.
Lidsville?
It's legal in Vegas to smoke. Yeah.
All right,
It's legal here.
So for those of you who have not been paying attention, so we have Marc Morales with us. He is currently directing a movie called 521 North Main Street, which is the address of a Clown Motel in Nevada, in Tonopah. Oh, I did have one piece of trivia about Tonopah. It is mentioned in a song from Little Feat. The song is called Willin'. So they mentioned Tonopah and Tehachapi and a bunch of other small towns. But that's the only other time I've heard the word Tonopah is in that song. And when you mentioned it, I was like, oh, it brought me back to that. So anyway, Marc Morales, he also has a web series that has the web series actually been
no, it's not released.
So you've just done a couple episodes, but you haven't put it up yet.
3 episodes, yeah, because we never shot a movie before, and we had nothing to do. We had some downtime because of COVID. So I wrote this script, episode 1, and I looked at my girlfriend like, you want to just see if we can borrow like $5,000 and see if we can make this? And she was like, well, we might as well try. We didn't do nothing else. And that's what we did. And then our producer from 521 North Main Street, we didn't tell him until we shot the episode. And then we told him, he's like, you guys did it without me. You want to make 2 more? Because we showed him the episode. And he's like, let's make more. So we were like, all right. And we just made 2 more. So now we're just editing them. So really, we had nothing to do. So
and what's the name of the web series again?
It's called It's Crazy Out There.
It's Crazy Out There. So I do know they have a YouTube channel, and there are currently 5 subscribers, I think, on that YouTube channel.
We have a YouTube channel? Oh, I didn't even know. I don't know what we have. So we have to get someone to do everything social. I don't know. Someone will say something and I'll go on my phone and go, okay, I'll do that. And then I'll sign up for something and I forget.
And then suddenly you've got like a woman coming from Russia as a bride because you didn't know what you were doing.
She's a Russian prostitute bride. I don't know.
A mail order bride.
She's a were prostitute.
Yeah, she specializes in buffet cooking. I don't know. It's just weird.
All right, well, again, this is Marc Morales, and we have Greg and Brendan are also on the show, in case you guys didn't know. If you're paying attention, you want to find out more about the Law Offices Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker, go to www.qsblaw.org. And as I said last week, there's a new feature on the website where now the videos go automatically to our website. You don't have to go to YouTube to find them. It'll be in the video section on the website. And again, there is a store to buy pictures of me or Greg or Brendan's face on a T-shirt or on drink things.
That's enticing.
Out of. It is. Get all 3 shirts.
And there's the phone number of Waspy Soda Pop in there, so you can call him.
Waspy Soda Pop so far does not have any merchandise, but we'll have. I might think with that. It'll be one more offering we'll have that no one will buy. So why not? Why not have it there?
Buy their stuff, people. Buy their stuff.
Buy the stuff. That's
all right.
Good.
This has been the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker.
Your consultation with the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker has ended. You may pay your retainer at www.qsblaw.org. Please exit to the right of the water cooler and grab a candy from the front desk. We hope to see you again soon, but you need to leave now. I said leave. Why don't they ever listen? Get out! Get out!